Hello there again, and good morning. Thanks very much for making time to catch up this morning. I appreciate it. Might be a little bit of an early start for some, but greatly appreciate you being a part of this webinar for today. My name is Chris. For those who I haven't met just yet, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for wanting to find out more about DataAU. There'll be people that come in, so I'll just be accepting them into the room. But what I want to do today is just give you a little bit of an overview on DataAU and a little bit more information about what you can expect through the platform. And then we're going to go through a live demonstration as well. So what, if it's all right with you guys, what I will do is just take you through a couple of slides about the platform, a little bit more information. So the session today is about how to use insight to inform your teams, but also how to use data and insights for strategic decision making as well. So what I've done today, for some of those that have participated in previous webinars, is just give you a bit of a breakdown for what DataAU can do, and just sort of provide that insight as well through a series of examples, a couple of slides that I pulled together through one of our users in Victoria. And then what I want to do is take you through a live demonstration so you can see the platform and what it's all about. But hopefully at the moment you're able to see the slide deck. And for those that do show up a little bit later or that have to leave early, I'm recording the session as well, if that's okay with everyone. The plan is to share this around so you can all see it at a later stage. That's myself in the top left for those who I haven't been able to meet face-to-face today. I'm obviously supported by a much larger team, as is DataAU. So AEC Group, and what I wanted to do is give you a little bit of history on AEC Group. We're about 30 people, founded 3 decades ago in regional Australia. We're a national firm now that continues to be focused on the ongoing success of regional and rural Australia. We have a range of core competencies and service leaders that support economic consulting, financial sustainability, infrastructure appraisal, market research, and then obviously data visualization, which has formed DataAU and the platform that we're going through today as well. What I want to do is talk to some of those things, but essentially tell you how we've reached the point that we have. So DataAU, essentially, in its simplest form, is secure, online, and up-to-date economic and socio-demographic data that you're able to access and run a series of interrogations to understand more about your region and more about regions around Australia as well, and how you might compare to those regions too. We're built to serve a range of organisations and workflows as well. And we're a part of AEC Group as well. So from all the data that we use for our complex consulting and our consultation within our project-based work, that all is given to yourselves in the form of a subscription with DataAU, so that you're able to find that information out for yourselves as well. The platform is built off the success of that project-based consulting. And obviously, I think we're pretty competitive in terms of what we offer to our users, but also there's a broad range of capabilities within DataAU, and I think a vast majority of people don't use it to its full potential. So that's why these sessions are really important. You get the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what it can do for you, and how you can really maximise the benefit from DataAU. So what I want to do is talk to the core features within the platform, some of those things that really you'll benefit from using in your day-to-day, but then some of those unique modules that we've built in to interrogate the data within your region so that you can understand exactly what's happening and use those unique insights within your workflows as well. So obviously DataAU, the core and the backbone to it is the extensive and consistent, nationally consistent data at regional and local government levels. Using that, we have methodology that our consulting teams have developed, so economic impact assessments, event planning assessments, and impact modelling, using our methodologies that have been designed by our teams. We've built in a lot of automated reporting as well, and the goal here is to provide a custom report for a range of different users, and I'll talk through that as well. There's 2 major types of users within DataAU. There are those that use or that rely on the high granularity within one local government area or region. So we've prepared a comprehensive report for those regions, but there's also those that enjoy the ability to compare at a glance multiple regions as well. And there's reports that cater to both of those types of people. We have thematic mapping as well, so that visually highlights data all across Australia. And then obviously sessions like this, where every month I'll have anyone and everyone that wishes to learn more about the platform tune in, ask questions, and obviously go through the platform and refresh the knowledge on what it can do. Obviously, each user has, or organisation that uses the platform has the ability to I suppose, share it with their work colleagues as well. So if there's someone that specialises in grant writing, for example, or event planning, or they're an analyst, or they're strategic forecasting, everyone has a range of different tools that would uniquely benefit them as well. In addition to that, there are a range of unique insights that we built into the platform that we think you'll get a lot of benefit from as well. And there's quite a few. So starting with the profile builder, this is essentially a curated snapshot of your region. It highlights community and economic features, and it dynamically updates, pulling on the data from DataAU to tell that story. So essentially, if you're sharing copy about your region, and there's an example in the top left picture there with one of our users who has signed on today. And I suppose this is essentially the best way to tell a story of your region and allow a self-serve platform for people that you engage with to find out more about their region. We've also created a grant assistant. Now, this is also, I would also call it a data assistant. It's an intuitive way to access a range of different insights across areas of interest. So, for example, if you're looking to apply for a grant, or there's a range of funding programs that you have interest or visibility on, perhaps you're looking for information on housing affordability and supply in a particular region, or resilience for healthcare and provision of healthcare services. Grant Assistant will identify those within key areas of interest and then rank your region against the state, your pertinent state, and national averages as well, and give you a really easy and efficient way to discover how you can apply for grants using substantive data. Now, following on from this, we've also created megatrends. So this is another way of breaking down interesting data topics across trajectories of change, or unique topics that might be proprietary data that DataAU has built into our platform, or a range of unique topics to highlight what's actually changing within your region, a whole new range of topics that might be of interest to you as well. Moving on, there's projections as well. So a range of strategic projections from estimated resident population down to 2041, your gross regional product, employment and labour force trends, giving you conservative and optimistic projections out to 2041. You can couple this information with the likes of an economic impact assessment, one of those core features that we've built into the platform as well. Substantive work for large-scale infrastructure development, for example, just one of the many uses, and where projections information comes in handy. Now, this one's very detailed. We've built a competitive assessment. I'll put a couple of slides in this presentation just to show you what it can look like as well. We've also included the information with each block of what it's about. Essentially, it is a detailed supply chain assessment of your region. It is showing you upstream and downstream activities, identifying where economic activity is coming by industry sector, and how you can capitalise on that as well. But I'll take you through that in just a sec. Now, the next couple of things I'm pretty proud of, we've just actually released our carbon model. This is giving you the first model of its type in Australia to break down carbon emissions by sub-state area. And it gives you historic levels of carbon emissions within your region, and then an outline of key contributing categories, and uses that information to inform future baseline scenarios. So a use case would be if you have a lofty target within your region to achieve net zero or carbon emissions reductions, you can actually check now to see if you're on target or not. So using that information is substantive data, again, to inform your team, really does take the guesswork out of your carbon emissions profiling. Now, Tourism Portal we're about to go live with, but I did want to touch on this. And if you are free, I will also, I've got a slide feature on further on about our next and last presentation for the year on the Tuesday, the 13th of December, a little bit later in the day. So if there's a few people that have been up early to watch the World Cup, or have not been able to tune in today, the last session will address the Tourism Portal and all the features that are included in that. But essentially, this is your dashboard to touch on your tourism activity through a visually compelling interface. So your metrics including visitation, your source market, so the location origin of people that are visiting your region, and the interpretation of these insights to inform future projections as well, where people are coming from, also relative to the state as well, and you can use that information to compare against other regions across Australia as well. So if you're looking at your tourism region compared against any other location in Australia, you're able to do that now. So I think the most important thing, and I do mention this in some of the webinars, is the quality of data. As I mentioned before in the core features, the quality is paramount. We include primary data. So AEC Group, as I mentioned, is a firm that has specialists in market research, and we've been doing this for 3 decades. Obviously, data that is fit for purpose and generally instant as well. A lot of the data that we contain is agency data. So that is survey-driven, stuff like census. Obviously, it's something that is comparable across regions. And one of the important things within DataAU is that data is nationally consistent. So if you are looking to compare against a region of a similar estimated resident population, for example, but you want to highlight anomalies between the two, you're able to do that. And that's where some of DataAU's benefits come into the fold. Model data as well. This is obviously information to fill the gaps. So obviously things like the census are every 5 years. But we obviously want to get a more granular picture or a more detailed picture within those 5-year intervals. So using that to inform insight and forecast activity is pretty important as well. And there's a range of different sources that we've read in. There's hundreds of different data topics that you have access, and we're adding to that every day. And that includes ABS, of course, Australian Bureau of Statistics, the Department of Education and Training, Education, Skills and Employment, Social Services, Treasury, Public Health Information Unit, Tourism Research Australia, and then obviously that proprietary data that AEC Group have read in using their market research team as well. So as I mentioned, there's a couple of slides that I've pulled together just to show you a demonstration of some of the modules within DataAU. And what I've been doing for a presentation for one of our colleagues is pulling together some information for Southern Grampians. And just to show you, this is this slide, or this still that you're looking at here, is our Explore Data Insight. So this is how you access data. And this is just one example of comparing 3 different geographic areas against an index that shows a comparison to a national average. So again, using data that is nationally comparable allows you to create or run indices against a national average. In this instance, it's the Gross Regional Product Growth Index data that has been published by AEC. A gross regional product model for 2021. So essentially, this is one data set. You can see to the right of this screen here, the 3 areas that I've highlighted within the map screen initially, and then the display options. These are all predefined based on the individual data topic that you're looking at. And obviously, there are hundreds of different data topics, so there's hundreds of different preferred display options for each of those. Obviously, if you're looking to view the raw data table, you're able to do that as well. But exporting that information efficiently is key. And if you've, I suppose I say to everyone that first uses DataAU, if you get across the Explore Data Insights, you'll be able to master the rest of the platform with ease. So this is a pretty important one to get across. You can find very specific data topics and then export that in a cinch, and then add them to reports or use that as substantive evidence for what you seek. There's a bit of a closer picture for you, just as an example. This is a still from our carbon emissions profile. So this is for the Southern Grampians carbon production and projection model. Essentially what we're looking at here is 5 different coloured bars, either ranked as positive or negative. And you can see as an example, the aquamarine colour there is land use change and forestry. And what we're looking at in this instance is an aggregate historic trend line that shows land use and land use change going from a positive net emission in the first 3 years to a negative net emission. So you can actually see how direct scope emissions across the carbon categories have influenced the trend line to head down. However, what I wanted to highlight in this slide, and if I blow it up a little bit bigger, what you're looking at here is using those final 5 lines of the historic trend line, we inform a future baseline scenario with a 25% tolerance between the high and the low. If we were looking at reaching net zero by 2030 in the Southern Grampians, what this actually suggests is that we might not be on track. These future baseline scenarios are informed from the last 5 years of historic trend data, and that is projected out to 2030. And obviously, there's a lot of different variables that inform carbon emissions profiles, but this is the best way to track it by local government area in Australia so far. So it's a very detailed model. It gives you lots of information to compare and contrast to corporate plans, to strategic goals, and really does show you what's actually happening. And in the future, we're looking to add to this even further, but this is a really good and detailed report that you can start with. Now, the competitive assessment, as I mentioned, it's a very detailed component to DataAU. But what you're looking at here is essentially the relative interconnectivity between local businesses, the propensity for local goods and services to be consumed by households, the amount of goods and services imported into and exported from a local region's economic geography. There is a lot of data in this particular graph. And as you can see, there's a lot of information that we include in each block as well. But once you get across this, what you're able to do, and what we're looking at in this screen here, if I blow it up a little bit bigger, you can see the grey block in the middle here represents an economy. So the economy of Southern Grampians, for example, is $2 billion. What I'm able to do is interrogate that further down to each industry. So I can break that down from one of the 19 industry sectors, the ANZIC industry sectors, and identify upstream and downstream activities within a single industry sector. And what you're looking at here, again, is the upstream and downstream activities within each of those either economies as the grey block or individual industry sectors. So a lot of information. Each of these different colour shadings would have 19 ANZIC sectors contributing to it. What we've done is simplify that to show you the top 5 within each of those categories: upstream, downstream, imports out of the local economy or exports out of the local economy as well. You can see a lot of activity there as well. This is a re-representation of that same information, and this is a supply chain overview. So what we're looking at now is a breakdown of each industry sector and the activity, upstream and downstream activities within each area. So outcomes to the left of these figures from the centre, they represent imports to production, which includes imports to the region and local purchases from local businesses within the region. I'll make that a little bit bigger for you. The outcomes to the right figures in the centre represent the downstream markets for local production, including sales to local business, consumption of local goods, and gross fixed capital formation. Are you still all with me? There's a lot of information here to take in, but again, once you master Explore Data Insights and then understand how one data set will influence another, you can actually see how some of these can really be used to inform a wide user base as well. Here's a shift share analysis. So this assists in identifying local competitive advantages and opportunities. It examines components contributing to local sectors' growth or decline as well. And what we're looking at here, if you just look at the grey dots, you can actually see the net change. So we've got regional, national, and industry-based shares, which can either be positive or negative, either left or right of the zero, change in employment over the last 5 years. But you can identify across each industry that net change. So there's a lot of information included in that one as well. Now, the strategic projections. This is just one example of one of the strategic projections that you're able to access. So what I'm looking at here, I was able to create 3 custom catchments or select 3 individual local government areas, for example. And what I've done, light blue up the top is the LGA of the Northern Grampians, the dark blue is the Southern Grampians, and then green is Horsham as well, a bit further north of Northern Grampians. So what I'm using that for is to identify if there is infrastructure opportunity within an estimated resident population growth. And I can see that the projections here are out to 2041. So there's a lot of information here that can be used to inform or complement other modules within DataAU, which is really start to get the benefit from the platform as well. But in and of itself, this information can be used across a range of different applications and workflows. If you're looking at a strategic meeting for future planning or looking at future business case proposals or possibilities within your region, just looking at this data alone, it's dynamic. So as you're scrolling across it, and I'll take you through this on a live demonstration, you can see exactly what those figures are, and then obviously positive and conservative estimates as well based on population forecasts. So what I'm going to do now, if it's all right with you all, is take you through a walkthrough of the platform. So what I've done is I've gone to dataau.com.au up the top, and you can see a little bit more information here. Now, what I wanted to do also is just show you a couple of things that you can access before you have any sort of login. You can view your region's custom profile. If you click Unlock the Data and you were to type in an area, for example, or maybe I'll type in an actual area. any LGAs or RDAs, and what you can do is see a public-facing summary statistics of that area. So I can see a breakdown of key statistics to that area, and further down I can see our public taxonomy browser. So this is a breakdown of key data and information within a particular region that informs and gives me more information. And I can use that to compare against another region quite easily. So again, you can find this information out nice and easy and use that before you even log into DataAU. Again, the data that we've read in is all nationally consistent. So the goal here is to inform and educate people, provide people with the tools to interrogate and understand their region a little bit more as well. So what you can do in that public-facing taxonomy is like population growth, for example. I can see a line graph where it shows me Brisbane and Sydney, and I can see the breakdown of information there. I can see the trend line in terms of percentage growth for population out to 2021. But if I want more information, if I want more granularity with data, if I want better export opportunities than just the raw data or just an image or a CSV folder for an individual data topic, I'd need a login for DataAU. I'll just click on the logo up the top, and I want to show you another way to actually access more information about the carbon model that we've just released as well. So if you want to find out more information, we've actually got a brochure just down here. It's a fact sheet about understanding how Australia and each region can reach a net zero future. Now, I know that there's some regions in, say, Tasmania, for example, that calculate net zero, but what you can do within the model that we've built is understand how each individual carbon category contributes to your carbon emissions profile. So there is further work that you can do in terms of net positive emissions I suppose, advancement. So if you were to click on that button, you'll find out more information within that fact sheet there. Going into DataAU though, I'll just show you a couple of things, the basics on how to access data, on how to export data, and then where to find more information. So what I will do is I'll just go to dataau.com.au/login. I'd put in my login credentials and it will take me to a screen that looks like this. Now, for the purposes of today's demonstration, some of these modules, what I actually have a login to is a region that is for multiple local government areas. So if you wanted data on multiple areas, you're able to access that. And what that actually does is gives you more ability and more usability within these modules as well. So you're able to run megatrends and a grant assistant on multiple local government areas, or input-output modelling on multiple areas, thematic mapping on SA1, statistical area 1s, the most granular data set that we maintain, or even the carbon models for multiple local government areas. So there's a lot more information to be gained by having access to multiple areas. If you were looking at areas or information for one particular region, that's fine too. You can access all of these as well within that local government area. So explore data insights. If I click on that, this is what I would say to you all, arguably the most important module within DataAU. The most important thing to get across is its taxonomy and how to use this section. So in the lower right, you'll see geography. So a lot of the data sets, as I mentioned, there's a lot of agency data that we've read into the platform. Local government areas, these yellow areas, the ones that contain the highest proportion of data topics. However, we've got data across a range of different areas. So regional development areas, obviously an aggregate of local government areas. There are destination zones, travel zones, which is for New South Wales, tourism regions across Australia, statistical areas or SAs 1 through to 4, and then you can interrogate state-based data as well. So your account will give you granularity or SA1 down to, so again, it's 100 to 200 or 200 to 300 people rather. And as you can see, that's quite specific. If you're looking at the likes of Melbourne, for example, and you're looking at breaking down information within that, you're able to access SA1 and SA2 within your account area. But what I want to do for the purpose of today is just show you how to compare 3 custom catchments within DataAUs and within Explore Data Insights. So what I'm going to do is just click on 3 or one area here. So I've got Darebin, for example. If I wanted to add the neighbours and click on, say, Moreland, for example, I can do that. And what I do, I can type in the information here. Now, I call them custom catchments earlier because you're able to add multiple geographies to your catchment. Just keeping in mind, it's best to stick to the same type of geography. So now that I'm in the yellow areas, what I'm going to do is add in Moreland and Moonee Valley, just to show you what that looks like. and just give it a custom name as well. If I wanted to add a third area, I just click on add another area, and I can add up to 3 custom catchment areas. And I can just click on somewhere like Port Phillip, for example, and just call it Port Phillip. We'll just call it Port Phillip. So now that I've got my 3 custom catchments, and as I see, if I click on each of those, I can see how they're highlighted as well. I can also switch the map in the top right as well. Or if I didn't know where a particular place was and I wanted to use it to compare, I can type in that information as well. And I can add that too if I want. So this is a bit of a Puttanesca now. Darebin plus Birdsville. But just to give you an example, they are the ability to create 3 custom catchments to show you what that actually looks like. Now, with those 3 areas selected, I'm able to interrogate those geographies, custom catchments across the next 4 tabs, which is what we call our taxonomy browser. I'm going to take you into economy as one of the major areas for data or the centers for data, to show you what this looks like. So initially, there's a lot of information to take in. This data insights area is where I can search through the different topics. So if I wanted information about population, for example, or if I want information about economic diversity or economic growth, I can start typing in something and it'll find data sets within this further taxonomy here. So we've broken down data topics by areas of interest. But again, the best thing to do within this module is to click around and get used to it as well. Highlight your 3 areas of interest and then understand what you're looking at whilst clicking through some of the data topics. So over this side, you can see the title of the data. So I've selected economic growth. This is an AEC indicator. So we've used this, we've built a gross regional product model. And we use this to create an index to measure the annual growth of gross regional product. And I can see that description that's written there, and then the reference for the data topic just below that as well. Now, the bars that we're looking at here, if I hover over the right side of screen, I can see the 3 custom catchment areas that I've created in the map screen. What I can also do is compare this particular data topic to a national average as well. So if I were to click on that 4th topic, I can see the 4th bar that's popped up there. So the first one is my Darebin and Birdsville, the second one Moreland and Moonee Valley, and the third one being Port Phillip. Now, as I mentioned, predefined display options are selected based on the topic that you're reviewing. So this might be another good way to display this type of data topic. If I just wanted the raw data table, I'm able to access that as well. Now, your export options in the bottom right, I can see I can add this to a cart or I can export an image straight away. So PNG being a background that's transparent. If I had some sort of background graphics within the report or profile that I'm looking to, or output option that I'm looking to put it into, the SVG is just a white background as well. So again, data topics sit across those tabs. The data cart is where you can export multiple data topics across your custom catchments. So what I'm looking at here is the ability to modify the areas. So that would take me back to the map screen. But if I hover over the top, I can see those LGAs that I've selected within those custom catchment areas. Now, this screen is particularly important because it tells me the availability of data at a range of different geographies. So I can see the data is available at LGA, destination zone, travel zone, tourism region, SAs 1 through to 4 and state. I can see the data topics here. This screen is also really important because it allows me to search through the entire taxonomy from one single screen. So as I showed you before, searching for population data that sits in economy, nothing pulled up. But if I search through for population data here, I can find census population, Indigenous population that sits in the 2021 census tab, or livability, and then the people data sets that sit there as well, and then where that data is actually available as well. So if I wanted data from my 3 custom catchment areas across different areas of taxonomy, I could just select those. And then in the lower right section, I can click download that as an Excel document. And what that will actually do is produce a folder that creates 3 Excel files. And within those 3 files, it will have listed the custom catchments that I created from the map screen. Again, I understand I've probably gone a little bit fast for those who might be looking at this for the first time, but I've recorded this session so that you're able to view it at a later stage as well. But this is the easiest way to find out more information about an individual data topic or a range of different data topics across your custom catchment areas. And again, when we're talking about a lot of data across a lot of different geographies, it starts to make your life a whole lot easier when you're able to access that at a rapid speed as well. So that's Explore Data Insights. I'm just having a bit of time. Yep, very good. I want to take you through a couple of these other sections as well. And I just want to start with Grant Assistant, because this is a good one that informs also megatrends as well. So as I click on this, and just referencing back to when I logged in, I have access to multiple local government areas, which you're able to access as well. So within the ability to access multiple government areas, what I can do is just select one particular area and then click continue. And what this will do is give me a metric, a series of metrics across key areas of interest. And these areas have been informed from our consulting-based work that we've done as a firm over 3 decades. So these are areas that we do a lot of complex-based consulting work that would benefit our clients and our users. But now you're able to access this. This is your self-serve ability to find out more information. So future iterations of the Building Better Regions Fund, I can find instantly information about access to and quality of housing by clicking on this top left tab within the region that I'm looking at. What I'm looking at here, though, just to give you some guidelines, is the icons are color-coded based on a ranked performance relative to the pertinent state and the nation as well. So, and I'll show you what that looks like. If I click on access to and quality of housing, I can see from the LGA that I selected, the mortgage stress rate, the rental stress rate, the housing suitability, government housing, household incomes. I can see all of that data, and I have the ability to export all of that straight away if I want into a Word document. So just by clicking on the lower left here, once I've selected either from this screen or from this screen here, or even just select an entire block of information on a topic, I can then download that Word document, and it will produce a Word document that includes all the information that was on that previous screen. So that is the topic, mortgage stress rate, for example, under access to and quality of housing, the information about that topic, a basic graph so that you can create your own table if you wish, and then that image, that static image that reproduces the comparison of the metric or the data topic of your LGA versus the state versus the nation. So again, a very efficient way to give you a comparative data set, a range of metrics, and a rank system that allows you to focus your efforts on grant applications. Or internally, a lot of organisations have been using this for informing business case priorities as well. Again, there's a range of different areas, and even though it's called Grant Assistant, this particular tab can inform a lot of different areas of interest. So as I mentioned, if I click through to another area, I can see there is COVID resilience, so health and jobs and economy, the diversity of a particular region, infrastructure access, green infrastructure, lifestyle health factors. These are areas of interest that our users are looking for more information on. I'm just going to click on Megatrends, and I don't want to spend too long on it because it has a similar look and feel to the Grant Assistant. Now, again, a range of new and emerging data topics and insights mean that some of these topics are areas of interest that we are still building metrics into. But just to show you one small example, innovation, we're looking at trademarks per 1,000 business or design applications per 1,000 business. This might be areas to promote I suppose a business hub or an opportunity for investment or innovation within your region as well. Again, key areas of interest that people are talking about across new and emerging markets and areas of interest. So that's the mega trend as well. And what I want to do is show you the reports. And again, because I'm logged in as a multiple local government area, there is this third report that shows. So you have access to the ability to look at a comprehensive local government area, a 10-page report of your region. And what I'm going to do is just select one region, and this will publish a report, a 10-pager. And if I show you what that looks like, it just takes a few moments to pull all of the data from the DPS. But what this will pull is dependency ratios, community statistics, economic indicators within the region, aging ratios, the top 4 GRP by industry, and the ability to customize all of this. Obviously, all of these are image blocks that you're able to change, custom text fields that you're able to change as well. So in this one particular LGA, I can view the summary statistics up the top. So the top 4: gross regional product by industry, growth data summary, employment, economic, population, residential building approvals. The benefit to a multiple local government area account, or the ability to access this information, is that you're now comparing apples with apples, and this report is able to be reproduced in 30 seconds. So if you are walking into a strategic meeting or something, you're able to look at key data topics and have them reproduced within a matter of seconds. So there's a lot of information in there. What I did want to show you in the reports section though, and I just clicked on the tab on the left there, reports, I can actually see multiple LGAs provided as an aggregate report. And what I'm looking at, if I click on this particular report, within my account, it aggregates all of those local government areas. And I'll just preview this PDF as well. Again, we're looking at an aggregate of individual local area statistics. So summary statistics that would give you a lens on the region and the activity within that region, but also the key economic drivers within that aggregate region. So if mining is a particular area, so my account, the one that I'm logged into today, is Greater Perth, and the Regional Development Area or Association. That major industries, community profile, the region, and what I can see from that is the region. So all of the information that is pulled and where the data is coming from. So essentially that custom catchment that I was referring to in Explore Data Insights before. And then a breakdown of individual local area statistics. So I can refer to that and look at individual local area statistics across everywhere within my catchment. So again, lots of detail that you're able to produce within seconds. It's quite efficient, and it does make your life a lot easier as well. There's a lot of people that do use that just as a reference document within a range of meetings and situations as well. Bear with me, I'm just going back in. So I've got, so we've covered grant assistant megatrends, reports, and then data insights. I'm just showing you, I know I pulled a static image from strategic projections. You're able to use or compare employment, gross regional product, and labour force as well. So again, it's a similar look and feel to the Explore Data Insights, where you interrogate individual data topics across any geography that you wish. What you do is you create your custom catchment areas, and I've already done this as well. I've created a Southeast Queensland, I've created a Brisbane as my second catchment area. I can just show you that by zooming into that particular region. Created a Gold Coast and Logan area and a few others as well, evidently. But what I can see is those 3 custom catchment areas, and then what it will do is produce those 3 graphs based on that. So this is employment projections, and again, pertinent state being Queensland for those map areas that I've mapped out. I can see gross regional product as well. I can see labour force. All of these out to 2041. And if I hover over them, they are dynamic, so I can see those individual statistics. By clicking on the right, I can see those custom catchment areas and then my output options for those custom catchments. So that's the projections. I did want to take you through the carbon model as well. So again, you choose your local government area, or if you have access to one, it will produce the report immediately. Essentially, you're looking at carbon production across direct categories which form your emissions profile. And some can be positive and some can be negative. But this report card, or this is essentially a report card based on the most overt way to measure carbon emissions within your region. So what I'm looking at here is Bassendean, carbon production and projection. So each of these individual carbon categories are obviously carbon equivalent. I suppose it's all converted to be measured by the same standard, which is carbon equivalency. And I can see across energy, industrial processes, agriculture, waste, and then land use change and forestry, it gives me an aggregate total. And in this particular region, I can see everywhere in terms of carbon production is net positive. So they're producing more carbon than they are sequestering or negating. And then using the last 5 tabs of the historic emissions trend line, it informs the future emissions profile with a positive and negative of 25%. What I can do with that information is I can look at the local contribution. So I can look at my contribution for Bassendean, proportionate to the region, which is Perth, the greater region. I can look at the greater region of Perth as a proportion of Western Australia, and then Western Australia as compared to the nation as well. I can view that across the 10 years of net historic emissions as I click through it. What I can do as well is see net negative emissions. Now, a lot of regions will not have net negative emissions if they are not sequestering or involved in active sequestration activities as well. But obviously, we want to record that so people are increasing their activities in net negative emissions. It is recorded as well. So this is a breakdown of that annual comparison as well. And obviously, this is a veritable report card, but we do a lot of complex consulting work based on our carbon production and projections modelling. And this has been introduced as a self-serve ability for each local government area. So a really fantastic tool for you to marry with your strategic objectives, and just to double check that you are on track, or maybe use this information to change tack potentially as well. But yeah, if you wish for more information, obviously we're able to help interpret this a little bit further as well. What I will do is take you through the competitive assessment as well, and then I just want to take you through input-output modelling, and then just open the floor to any questions. And if you do have any questions as well, feel free to start typing them. I apologise. I think microphones are disabled in this session as well for privacy reasons. But if you're able to click on the chat option in Microsoft Teams, you should be able to type any questions there, and hopefully I'm able to answer them for you as well. But as mentioned, I'll take you through the competitive assessment. Yet again, choose my local government area. So I'll choose Cottesloe for this particular competitive assessment. This is a temperature check on how your economy is performing. So what I'm looking at now is a dynamic cluster map of your supply chain. It's looking at state industry growth across the horizontal, and then your cluster concentration or your representation location quotient across the vertical line as well. The size of the dot represents the size of your industry. And what I'm looking at here is the economy as a whole. And essentially, just to break it down and keep it efficient in terms of time, this is essentially what you're looking for is the sectors that are underrepresented, potentially large, but underrepresented with high growth potential. So this quadrant 3 down here. So these green dots here, the further from the center, the more interested I am, arguably, in learning more about it. So within Cottesloe, I want to know why education and training is underrepresented, but a high growth potential within the region. And there could be a multitude of reasons based on the industry. If I wanted to break it down even further, I can click on one of these dots and I can find out more information about an individual sector as well. So in education and training in Cottesloe, for example, I can see a net total of the sub-industries being, this one being slightly or better represented, being arts, sports, adult and other education services, again, subsectors within the ANZIC classification system. Primary, secondary education services being underrepresented, but a high growth potential and nominally high growth. Now, this is a relative sized circle. So this is 84 full-time equivalent jobs within Cottesloe. It might be the basis, though, for further discussion about primary and secondary education services, given its growth potential and underrepresentation, and an opportunity for I suppose, an organisation to argue or support justification for the likes of a primary school, for example. But again, you can take this and interpret this in many different ways. What you've got here is just a dynamic screen for you to interpret a little bit more or see at a glance what individual sectors are doing. If I click on supply chain in the lower left, what this will do is bring up that Sankey graph that I was looking at before. And again, we're looking at the interconnectivity between businesses, upstream and downstream activities, imports outside Cottesloe's economy, exports outside Cottesloe's economy. And again, this is 19 sectors that we've summed up into the top 5 in the activities that are exported outside the local economy. I'll let you dive into this a little bit further in your own time. If you wish for a trial, we're able to set up all of that as well. You're able to access the 2-week trial if you haven't before. There's a legend down the bottom that you're able to see more information within an economy. So again, what we're looking at, Cottesloe, is $747.9 million. That's the worth of the economy. If I wish to interrogate an individual sector, all I have to do is click on the button to the right of sectors and find out more information. So if I wanted to find out more about manufacturing within Cottesloe, I can see that's $3 million. I can find out more information about that by clicking on further sectors and a breakdown of that and how that actually contributes to the region. What it will actually do is render a thematic map of activity within that region. So again, where everything's coming from across that sector. I'll let you dive into that a little bit further. Your output options are in the lower right as well. So you're able to export that as an image if you wish. I'm in manufacturing. I'm just going to go back to all sectors again, just to give you a well-rounded view. So again, your 19 ANZIC sectors are listed down the left. I can see your upstream and the downstream activities. I can see contribution to growth. So obviously being ranked by value, you've got a percentage contribution to growth over the last 5 years within Cottesloe. I can see location quotients, blue being overrepresented or well represented, and then the green being underrepresented as well. Your shift share analysis representing your national, industrial, and local shares, either positive or negative, and then the net change within each of those industry sectors. And then if you want to get really nerdy, you've got the transaction table that you're able to access as well. So once again, if you want a bit more information on an individual level, please feel free to email me or contact me, and I'm happy to walk you through that at a slightly slower pace as well. The last thing I did want to show you, this is one of our core features, but it's important to DataAU, and I think to really mastering your ability to interrogate the data that sits within the platform, and that is economic impact assessments and your event impact modelling as well. So I'll show you the event modelling really quickly. The detailed modelling gives you the ability to interrogate an event type, the scale, the attendance rate. You choose the variables within a particular area, and then your spend, any information of typical spend mixes outside an event, so food and drink, shopping, entertainment, and then you can run a model which produces the gross regional product and full-time equivalent job impacts across the ANZIC sectors, and it breaks down information by the initial shock or stimulus. So all the variables I put in effectively equate to $357,000 of money that's been injected into that local economy, so the region that I've selected. I can see direct requirements, industry support, and then that on-flow effect as well. And that's broken down in the graph across these 4 color-coded areas. This first is the 19 sectors affected by gross regional product, ranked by gross regional product, and the second is full-time equivalent jobs. So again, using this information to inform why an event of a particular scale or type could be justified within a local government area. Just clicking on models and going back, input, output modeling. The last one that I wanted to show you today is just how to understand what an economic shock would actually look like within a region. So if I wanted road construction, I know a lot of you who have sat through this before might have seen this, but what I want to do is just show you how this being a temporal model, so I can run construction information or ongoing information as well across 114 sectors, so the bold being the 19/20 sector level. But if I wanted further information, I just click on the arrow and it takes me through these non-bold other subsectors. So I can put in any kind of information I want there, and just for the purpose of keeping it brief, I'm just going to put in 12 up there. If I wanted more information, I can just put in, say, 10 there, and then 2 in construction, and I can see how that aggregates to the 12 up the top. But if I wanted to, say, public admin, I'll just put in a 0.5 there, and that gives me the $12.5 million that I'm looking to run. I can put in ongoing costs for a more complex model as well, if that's what I was considering. This report looks very similar to the event planning output as well, for a very good reason. It's used to communicate to a similar range of stakeholders. But essentially, what you want to do is show the economic shock of an economic impact assessment. So again, a major pool, a library, a school, a road construction project, economic or accommodation support perhaps. Whatever it might be that you're looking to run, you're able to do that through this model, and you're able to do that through input units. I didn't show you on the previous screen, but the input units can either be millions of dollars or numbers of jobs. So if you're looking to bring 1,000 people to regional Australia to promote water security within a particular region of a water project, you're able to run that type of model and anticipate where that will shock the economy as well. But just stepping back forward, the information looks very similar to the previous screen, showing the impacts, the intensity across gross regional product, and then your economic shock, the direct requirements from industry, the support requirements, and then your on-flow effect in that teal colour as well. For those that might not recognise, this is a 20th sector that we've extrapolated, being the effect on residential properties, so housing stock and supply within a particular region, because that is particularly important in Australia at the moment. But this breakdown is gross regional product and full-time equivalent jobs. And as I mentioned, across our 3 decades of operation, we've developed a pretty complex input-output methodology that we've used for our complex consulting, and that's all provided here as well. So if you wanted to download that document, it produces a format-agnostic document that you're able to reproduce into any kind of output that you're looking for. But essentially, that's how you run an economic impact assessment within DataAU, how you're able to interrogate further information from the platform, and then how you're able to use intuitive insights to access more information about your region as well. Now, lastly, I just wanted to touch on the next webinar that we've got coming up. It's the last one for the year, but this one's particularly important because we have an exciting new edition. I did mention it today, and we're just about to go live on it tomorrow. It'll be a lot of data and insight into your region based on your tourism activity. And this is particularly important to understand how to support that, obviously in an ever-changing world post-COVID as well, or in this semi-post-COVID era, what that actually looks like in terms of supporting domestic tourism or international tourism or visitation relative to the state, and what that's looked like in the past, and how to project what that might look like in the future so that you can best prepare for it as a region. So that's going to be on the 13th of December on Tuesday, and it starts at 2 p.m. for New South Wales and Victoria and ACT as well. Apologies if I left you out. 1:30 p.m. for South Australia, 1 p.m. for Queensland, 12:30 p.m. for Northern Territory, and 11 a.m. for WA as well. Thank you all so much for sticking around. I do apologise, it is quite a lot of words. So thank you again for persisting through. If you do have any questions, click on that chat box and feel free to share as well. I'm hopefully able to answer any questions. If you did want to raise me over email, my best email, I'll just pull up my screen again actually. The best email address is chris.abfolter@aecgrouplimited.com. Or you can reach me on my direct line as well, which is listed just there as well. But once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you got something out of today. I will stick around for a few minutes just to answer any questions that you might have, but greatly appreciate you tuning in and look forward to seeing you at the next session.